good, y'all? I'm Jerry, about to check out 10 best things to happen on the pay-per-view after WWE Wrestlemania. This video is by Cultaholic Wrestling. I'm not really familiar what happened on the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, but we about to hop into this video. Let's go.
With WrestleMania out of the way, let's turn our attention to the real biggest show of the year, Backlash. With the 2023 event set to emanate from Puerto Rico, fans are expecting big things to happen to mark WWE's long-awaited return to the island. The show immediately following the big one has often thrown up some pretty interesting scenarios as the company looks to take its new creative plans to the next level. Will anything on the card this year top these memorable moments? We'll have to wait and see. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 greatest things to happen on the pay-per-view after WrestleMania. Join us. Number 10, Spotlight on Cena at Backlash 2009. 1 month after John Cena
he got chokeslammed through the spotlight. I remember this.
Triple threat at WrestleMania 25, he would put the belt on the line at Backlash
Big Show chokeslammed through the spotlight.
He took it from. Edge took on the leader of the C Nation in a last man standing match which, as you can imagine, got pretty bloody intense. Just when it looked like Big Match John was going to win the day with an attitude adjustment, there was a run-in, which was actually more of a jog-in, from none other than the world's largest athletes. Big Show had also been in the world title match at Mania and wanted to exact his revenge on the winner. He picked up Cena like he weighed nothing at all before hurling him into a giant spotlight that blew up in a shower of sparks. This was easily one of the more adventurous spots of this time period and one of the biggest bumps John Cena has ever taken.
Yeah.
Seriously, he sold this like he was half dead. At least I hope he was selling. Number 9, the Inferno match at Unforgiven in Your House. The penultimate match to take place at WrestleMania 14 was the first time one-on-one meeting between The Undertaker and his demonic half-brother, Kane. Technically, the two had fought in a singles match back in 1995, but that's when Kane was a dentist, so it doesn't count. The Undertaker was able to overcome his satanic sibling after hitting him with 3 tombstone pile drivers. For their rematch a month later, WWE needed to up the stakes, and so decided to turn up the heat. Did you get it? Because they put fire around the ring. At the first ever Unforgiven event in April 1998, Taker and Kane went to war once again in the first ever Inferno match. There were no pinfalls or submissions here. The winner would be the first person to set their opponent ablaze. Unfortunately, the in-ring action wasn't especially brilliant here, as the match's gimmick severely limited how much space the wrestlers had to perform. Still, the sight of a wrestling ring surrounded by flames was every 14-year-old wrestling fan's dream come true. And if you think I have the time or energy to argue with a bunch of teenagers, then think again. Number 8, Nash's leg up at In Your House 7, Good Friends, Better Enemies. As its title would suggest, the 7th In Your House was themed around 2 former pals having a bust-up. The friends in question were the newly minted WWE champion Shawn Michaels and his former bodyguard and real-life clique pal Diesel. They would be wrestling on a show that also saw the Ultimate Warrior take on Goldust in what can comfortably be described as the worst match of the whole year. In fact, to even call it a match is a bit of an insult. Anyway, Michaels versus Diesel was much better, as the two buddies had incredible in-ring chemistry. The whole match deserves a place on this list, but if we had to pick just one moment, it would be this one. Before the match started, legendary wrestler Maurice Mad Dog Vachon was shown sat in the crowd. This played into the bout itself when Diesel accosted the future Hall of Famer, throwing him out of his seat before pulling off his prosthetic leg to use as a weapon. The sight of Kevin Nash wielding a man's fake limb like a lightsaber is truly one for the ages and something that could only happen in the wacky and wonderful world of pro wrestling. Number 7, Goldberg's first match at Backlash 2003. The Rock was riding high the night after WrestleMania 19, having finally defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin at the Showcase of the Immortals. Finally, he thought, The Rock is done with massively over-bald-headed men with goatees. Well, not quite. Rock's victory speech on Raw was cut off by a debuting Bill Goldberg. The hottest homemade star in WCW history had finally arrived in WWE and set his sights firmly on the People's Champion. This was gonna be juicy. After Goldberg speared Dwayne so hard that the microphone glitched out, it was clear that these two were going to face off somewhere down the line. And the two icons fought in the main event of Backlash 2003. They were given 14 minutes to play with, which is about 10 minutes too long for your average Goldberg match, but that is besides the point. Bill won the match with his trademark combo to send The Rock back to Hollywood and put himself on a collision course with the World Heavyweight Champ. If only we'd known then what we know now, we could have all warned Goldberg to stay as far away from that belt as humanly possible. Number 6, Titus World Slide at the Greatest Royal Rumble. It doesn't feel quite right, but the Greatest Royal Rumble was the first pay-per-view to take place after
I wish we could move on from this.
WWE's first major visit to Saudi Arabia was headlined by the gigantic titular match. 50 men would all compete for the chance to win the biggest Rumble match of all time and take home a hideous green belt that would never be seen again. Seriously, is that thing still in Braun's attic or something? When the time came for the 39th entrant to make his way down to the ring, the Saudi Arabian crowd was treated to the music of Titus O'Neil. The former primetime player ran down to the ring and, in one moment of pure joy, changed his career forever. We all know what happened. The big man lost his footing and slid headfirst under the ring. This event, dubbed Titus World Slide, would capture the attention of the wrestling internet like few other things ever have, and Titus became a walking meme overnight.
Yep.
Forget any of his actual matches or his amazing charity work. This is Titus's greatest contribution to the world.
I hate that.
Number 5, Bayley cashes in at Money in the Bank 2019.
The same night.
Technically, the first WWE live streaming event after WrestleMania 35 was The Shield's final chapter, which played host to Dean Ambrose's farewell bouts. However, we are not counting that because A, it wasn't on pay-per-view, and B, we really don't want to. So let's skip ahead to May 19th, don't tell Kane, the 2019 Money in the Bank show. Having won both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships at WrestleMania, Becky Lynch was set to defend her 2 belts on the same night. She successfully retained the Raw strap over Lacey Evans, but dropped the SmackDown one to Charlotte Flair immediately after.
Yep.
Never fear though, a certain hugger was around to save the day. Bayley had won the women's briefcase earlier that night and swooped in to cash in on her fellow horsewoman. The crowd popped several times throughout the segment, once when Bayley's music hit, once when it became clear that she was cashing in, and once when she pinned the Queen off an elbow drop to become the new champion. This could be the best women's Money in the Bank cash-in of all time. Although, if you look at what it's up against, then that really isn't saying much, I guess. Number 4, The Shield clean house at Extreme Rules 2013. We might not be talking about their final chapter, but we can discuss when The Shield swept the board at the 2013 Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns all made their WrestleMania debuts in the opening contest of Mania 29.
Yeah.
After beating the Slapdash trio of Sheamus, Randy Orton, and The Big Show, the 3 upstarts then set their sights on some titles. First up was Dean Ambrose, who took on Kofi Kingston for the United States Championship. After a fairly short match, Ambrose would win the belt and then go on to barely defend for almost a year. Then came Reigns and Rollins, who teamed up to challenge Team Hell No for the WWE Tag Team Championships. The men in vests overcame Daniel Bryan and Kane to win the gold, completing the faction's clean sweep. With titles around the waist of each member, the Shield now looked more dominant than ever. Surprisingly few factions in the history of WWE had ever managed to hold championships at the same time, putting the Hounds of Justice up there with the very best.
Yep.
And speaking of groups winning lots of titles, number 3, the Power Trip hold the gold at Backlash 2001.
Power Trip.
WWE fans were not overly receptive to the idea of booing Stone Cold Steve Austin following his heel turn at WrestleMania X7. That would be like asking them to boo a kitten in a hat.
I wonder what would have happened if Triple H hadn't got hurt.
The heeliest heel that ever healed.
Because they would have probably had a match at WrestleMania somewhere down the line.
Two-man power trip. This new partnership
how far the storyline would have went.
Match for the main event of Backlash 2001. WWE Champion Stone Cold and Intercontinental Champion Triple H against World Tag Team Champions the Brothers of Destruction for all the marbles. Why not throw in some vouchers for WWF New York whilst you're at it? After a whole bunch of interference and shenanigans, the Power Trip won the match and confirmed their position as the most powerful group in all of WWE. Granted, this didn't last long as Triple H's leg exploded shortly after, but for one brief moment, this was awesome. Number 2, Orton vs Foley at Backlash 2004. Randy Orton was a right little punk in 2004, and not in a cool split pin through the nose.
No,
he was a
an asshole.
jumped-up little prick with a fixation on destroying legendary wrestlers. One wrestler that crossed his path was Mick Foley, whom the young Viper humiliated at every possible turn. At WrestleMania 20, Orton and his Evolution buddies defeated the Rock and Sock Connection in a handicap match. Tired of having other people fight Randy's battles, Foley challenged the Intercontinental Champion to a match at Backlash. Only it would be no disqualification, and he would be wrestling as Cactus Jack. Uh-oh. In much the same way as he'd done with Triple H 4 years earlier, Foley used his signature match type to give Randy the rub. This brutal affair, filled with thumbtacks and barbed wire, tested the limits of what the youngster was capable of and gave him a huge win over an established name.
Yeah.
Also, the match itself absolutely ruled. It was bloody, it was brutal, it was a Mick Foley match. It was never going to be soft and fluffy, was it? Come on.
Those thumbtacks might hurt going in, but I know it hurt like hell pulling out.
2000. Oh, WrestleMania 2000. What could have been? Despite playing host to the likes of the Triangle Ladder Match and the Eurocontinental Triple Threat, the rest of WrestleMania 2000 felt a little off. And that includes the main event, the McMahon in Every Corner match for the WWE title. Many felt that the addition of Mick Foley in the Big Show overcomplicated things, and that this spot should have gone to a singles match between WWE Champion Triple H and The Rock. Well, 1 month later, that's exactly what we got. With the deck firmly stacked against him, the Great One challenged the game for the top prize. Interference by the bucketful meant the Rocky was in a tight spot, but that all changed when the glass shattered. A still injured Stone Cold made his way to the ring, clobbering everyone in sight with a steel chair. This gave The Rock the chance to hit the people's elbow and pick up the win to the delight of the crowd. See, this should have been the end of Mania. Honestly, WWE, you boggle my mind sometimes.
Yeah. Alright, y'all, another great video, man. Let me know down below in the comments of what y'all thought of my reaction to this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.